It's the final hour on this Tuesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk Live will join us. He was the first to suggest that maybe Kirk Cousins was going to play for the Falcons because he said that he was hearing from some insiders or some people who had some information. Kirk Cousins was going to move his family to Atlanta, where his wife is from, and then we started to piece it together that maybe he could end up with the Falcons, which is what happened yesterday. We'll talk to Mike about that move and some of the other ones. And Saquon Barkley going to the Eagles, Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney going to the Packers, and the Giants land Brian Burns from Carolina. Boy, they're going to put even more pressure on Bryce Young in Carolina. Go out there and outscore people, even though you can't score and you don't have any weapons. Other than that, 877-3DP-SHOW, email address dp@danpatrick.com, Twitter handle at DP Show. Good morning if you're watching on Peacock, our streaming partner, and our radio affiliates numbering over 400 cities in America. The PGA Tour is going to TPC Sawgrass, the Players' Championship. That starts on Thursday at 1 Eastern on Golf Channel, NBC, and Peacock. We'll bring in Tiki Barber here in a moment, the Giants All-Pro running back. He had some words to say to Saquon Barkley, or at least on his radio show. I'm going to take you back to March 7th when we got the possibility that maybe Saquon Barkley could end up in Philadelphia. And here is Tiki on his radio show on WFAN in New York.
The fact that Saquon would even contemplate going to play for that team in Philadelphia is insulting to his Giant history and legacy. Saquon very may well not be a New York Giant. I know that Joe Shane is having conversations, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to work out. Go to Baltimore. Go to Houston. Go to LA Chargers. Do not go to the Philadelphia Eagles, because if you do, that appreciation and respect and reverence that we all have for you, Saquon, will be lost.
Let's bring in Tiki Barber. This is just good local radio content. Saquon Barkley didn't take it that way. Good morning, Tiki. How would you sum up this back and forth?
No, I don't think it's really a back and forth, Dan. As you know, being in the industry as long as you have been, our job is to entertain, to inform, and sometimes get a little bit visceral because that's how the fan is. And they want to express themselves, but they don't often get a chance to call in and talk about it. So we do it for them. And look, that's how Giant fans were feeling about Saquon Barkley. I just happened to be the messenger that got the shrapnel from Saquon. We decided to respond to the one-day story.
Are you going to respond to his response where he says that you've been a hater since he got to New York? All the dead to me talk, don't smile in my face when you see me.
I smile at everybody, Dan. You know that. You've met me a couple of times. No, it's part of the job. It's part of the I think reaction that comes from athletes who think the media is always against them. But the reality is Giant fans loved Saquon Barkley. It just felt like it wasn't going to work out. Now we have to worry about him running all over us for the next 3 or 4 years down in Philadelphia. And that pains us. It really does. And it pains me. So, I mean, I still like Saquon. I wish him nothing but luck. But he also has to realize that my job for the last 17 years has not been to be in a locker room. It has been to be a voice of the fan, on the fan.
Okay, but if he had gone to the Texans or Baltimore, how would you have reacted?
We would have said, good luck. Have a great time. C.J. Stroud's an amazing quarterback. DeMeco Ryans is a fantastic young head coach. You're going to have a ton of success, and it's far enough away from us where we're not going to feel it. I think part of the issue here, Dan, is we're going to feel this. And when they have success, when him and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts start wrecking havoc on the NFC East again, we're going to see it. We're going to feel it. It's going to be right there. And it's going to bring us back to this moment where he chose the Eagles, despite not being able to get a deal done with the New York Giants. Now, it's not his fault. Obviously, it seems like Joe Shane's priorities were elsewhere and restructuring this team, obviously starting with the offensive line and the defensive line, which I think is core to any good organization. But it's just close. It's down the turnpike, right? We're going to see him, and we're going to see him twice a year.
I think the Giants made a smart move. I think Saquon made a smart move. If I put you in his position, that you know this team is going to be rebuilding, and you have this opportunity, even though it's your bitter rival, let's play hypothetical running back here, Tiki.
You know this. I played 10 years. I was a Giant for life. There is no way I was ever going
Let's
to the
say they
Philadelphia
didn't
Eagles.
want you. Let's say they wanted to move on. They didn't want to pay you what you thought you were worth. And
They didn't want to pay me what I was worth. Saquon's guaranteed money, the 2-year guarantee is more than I made. Didn't want to pay me. And so I know this. I didn't have any leverage. I didn't want any leverage because they knew I wanted to stay. They knew I wanted to be in New York. They knew the relationship that I had with the organization, both the Maras and the Tishes, and the fan base, whether they loved me or hated me at certain points in my career. I was never going anywhere. I knew how important it was to me to be a Giant for life. And I think Saquon did as well until the money wasn't there. And he went anywhere except the one place we didn't need him to go. The one place.
Okay, but how much loyalty should players have?
I mean, it's changed so much because, you know this, Dan, the money gap has gotten enormous, right? The amount of resources that are now doled out to players. Money has to be a primary concern. Because loyalty doesn't exist. I mean, Saquon said this earlier this year in talking about the franchise tag. Loyalty isn't as important as it used to be. But I would posit, Dan, that rivalry has to mean something, right? The core of why a sport matters. It's not just going out and entertaining and being hunky-dory with one another when it's over. It has to mean something more than that. At least that's what the fan thinks. And so I think sometimes there is a disconnect between the player and the fan. Part of that's obviously because they're on the field and the fan is not, but it has to mean something. Rivalry has to be important. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing it for?
What would you say if you see Saquon Barkley, when you see Saquon Barkley?
I'm sure I will see him. I'll say good luck and congrats. I'm happy for his career. It's just a series of unfortunate events that allowed his Giant career not to work out that everyone had envisioned, including Dave Gettleman when he drafted him second overall.
My worry is that he might run into your brother Rondé and then punch him, thinking that he was punching you. So
Rondé's a Hall of Famer now. All right, you can't punch a Hall of
Famer. He's a made man in the mafia. You can't punch a Hall of Famer.
That's exactly right.
Well, you did your job.
NFL Mafia. Don't mess with him.
You did your job. Did you invite him on the show today?
We have not. We should.
Yes.
We should.
What are you doing?
That's the best way to resolve things.
Yes.
It's funny. Paul Schwartz, New York Post, Paul Schwartz once told me, this is when I was playing, never react to the one-day story. Because you make it a 2-day story, a 3-day story, a 4-day story, and then it goes on and on and on and on. And he was right. And I'd love to get on and talk to Saquon because it's not personal. All the things that we talk about, the emotion that we have, the information that we give, the entertainment, the visceral reactions, it's never personal. It's just what the fan is all about. And that's what my job is, to serve the fan.
Great to talk to you as always. Thanks for joining us, Tiki.
Likewise, Dan. Be well.
That's Tiki Barber, former Giants running back, and he is the co-host afternoons on WFAN. Evan and Tiki starts at 2 Eastern.